Welcome to part 2 of what I know about MASH. We get, well, all the things I did not cover. Those right there, if you can see them, again, this thing does what it does with light, are 4 cases of MASH and 1 case of the complete series of Hogan's Heroes. God, I'm obsessed with both these shows. Anyway, yeah. So, anyway, what's there to say? So, you heard me talk about, I think, 4 characters in part 1. And here I'm strictly going over characters from the first 3 seasons of MASH, just the first 3 seasons. Characters that are in the book, the movie, and the show. Not just one of the 3, but all 3, book, movie, and show. Next we get Captain Trapper John McIntyre. The thoracic, I've heard it pronounced numerous ways, surgeon of the 4077. Except in the book, he's chief surgeon instead of Hawkeye, but let's move past that. Okay. So Trapper is a married man, yet he has no sense of fidelity. He expresses love every day to his wife and his daughters. But he has no sense of fidelity. He fraternizes with the nurses more often than Hawkeye does. Which, knowing Hawkeye, sounds quite unbelievable now that I say it out loud, but still. Yeah. Trapper he's from Boston, Massachusetts. I haven't seen a lot of him in the book, but again, I have not read the whole book. I've just read certain pages that are scattered throughout the internet that were taken down just recently. So as soon as I find a copy of the whole book, I will read it for you. Well, not for you, I won't be reading it while shooting a video, but I will read it. And then perhaps probably get some more information to you. So yeah, moving on. Trapper is much more of an enjoyable character than Frank. Basically, how can I say Trapper's sense of humor? In the movie, he has a very deadpan sense of humor. But in the show, he's basically a typical class clown. And what happens to him after, well, let's go over the characters who left briefly. We know that in the final episode of season 3, Henry's plane is shot down because McLean Stevenson did not want to be on the show anymore, and they wrote him out, saying that he's dead for 2 reasons. 1, so that people know he's not coming back, and 2, to remind everyone, it's war. Not everyone comes home from war. And Trapper left between seasons 3 and 4 because Wayne Rogers, the actor who played Trapper, saw the script for season 4. Now, in the movie, Hawkeye and Trapper are given mostly equal focus. In the show, Trapper was becoming more of a sidekick to Hawkeye than anything else. And Wayne Rogers' ego would not allow him to be anyone's sidekick. So he left, and then they got a show called Trapper John M.D., which takes place 26 years after the events of MASH, where Trapper is the new chief surgeon at a stateside hospital, and is played this time by Pernell Roberts. And Trapper John M.D. is actually a full drama. But how does Trapper leave in the show? They write that between seasons 3 and 4, he received his discharge orders and went back to his hometown, Boston, Massachusetts. When Wayne Rogers, the guy who plays Trapper in the TV show, is actually a good man at old Southern boy. But Trapper is from Boston, Massachusetts, and whenever you hear him speak, it's not really made that clear in the movie by what I've seen. But in the show, whenever you hear Trapper speak, you can pick up the Boston accent. That good old-fashioned Boston accent. I can't do it really well, but I know people who can. I'm going to stop talking like that now. I don't know why. I just don't feel comfortable with it. So, who else? Next down the line in rank is First Lieutenant Father Francis Mulcahy. Yes, father, as in Catholic priest. Father Mulcahy is, as the word father in his name says, a Catholic priest. He's the 407's company chaplain, which means he's the base's religious leader. He's their spiritual leader. The guy who's supposed to give them advice, both religious and non, so they can press on throughout what they have to do. And, yeah, and basically we see him do this. Does he differ any way? Well, in the movie and show, his personality is kind of the same. He's kind of funny, a little chatty when he wants to be, and very quiet when he needs to be. And always, wanting to do more than just spiritual, more than just morale duty. He always wants to do more, do something with his own two hands, not just with the cross around his neck. Heck, he wants to do more than that. But rarely ever does he get the chance. But in the movie and the TV show, Father Mulcahy is by no means a fundamentalist, and has nothing against the other religions of the world. In fact, I didn't want to spoil anything for you all, but the final episode of Season 5, titled Margaret's Marriage, Margaret's fiancé, Donald, Lieutenant Colonel Donald Penobscot, asks Father Mulcahy if he can do Methodist weddings, to which Father Mulcahy replies, "Piece of cake." And so he does. And they ask him a lot if he can do things like Methodist or Evangelist or Jewish. And he can. He can do the ceremonies of other religions, but he's just officially a Catholic priest. And he's their spiritual leader. He gives advice, religious and non. I've said that already. And he's not a fundamentalist. He's not going to hear you say you're from another religion and say, look, what you got to be forgiven for is between you and God, pal. He's not going to say that. What he's going to say is, oh, well, if you need me, I'm always here, no matter what religion you be. Like him, more Catholics be like him. But in the book, he is slightly more fundamental by what I've seen. To a point where there's actually another priest who's visiting and asks, and actually tells Father Mulcahy to, and I quote, beat the Korean out of the local Koreans. And Father Mulcahy is willing to do so as it means a promotion in the church. But in the show, and the show is the Father Mulcahy I know very well. He'd never do that. Like, never. At all. So I can easily see why they made it that there's only one priest in the show and the movie, and that he's not willing to do that. And there's not really much I can say about Father Mulcahy that's not in the show. You'd have to watch for yourself. I'm terribly sorry. Next down is, well, the last character that's in the book, movie, and show is Corporal Walter Radar O'Reilly. You might have noticed that everyone in this show has a nickname, and here's why. Henry doesn't because, I don't know. I told you the origins of 4 of the 3 people who had nicknames. I explained their nicknames in part 1. And these nicknames. Captain Trapper John McIntyre. Trapper's nickname comes from before Korea. He was on the Boston Maine Express. He was in the lavatory having sex with a woman, and the woman, to avoid media backlash, in her defense, said that he trapped her. Trapper John. And, did Father Mulcahy have a nickname? He did, actually. His nickname is Dago Red, because of his half-Irish, half-Italian heritage. They call him Dago Red. It's rarely used in the show. And there's all that. And other than... what about Radar? Walter Radar O'Reilly. Well, it's because, and I quote, he can predict things are going to happen before they do. He always knows what Henry is going to say before he even says it. And he can tell when the choppers are coming faster than anyone else can. And of course he can, just by listening to the rotors of the choppers, he can tell whether or not they're carrying wounded. So, but how is Radar's personality? In the book, movie, and the pilot episode, Radar is your typical soldier. He has no problem playing pranks, smoking Henry's cigar when Henry isn't looking, and sipping his whiskey. In the show, he's more of a naive farm boy, just trying to get the hang of the whole army thing. And Radar is the last one to leave. Like, you'll notice in the movie and show, everyone looks different. Find a picture of everyone in the movie and a picture of everyone in the show. You'll notice that everyone has a different actor, or in Margaret's case, actress. Radar is the only one who looks remotely similar. You want to know why? Because in the movie and show, it's the same actor. Everyone else is different in the movie and the TV show. Like, everyone else has a different actor or actress. Radar is played by the same actor in both the movie and the TV show. Radar is basically that. The actor, Gary Berghoff, agreed to do it for a TV show. He was the first employee to be hired and was the last to leave. Now, like I said, a lot of actors left the show before the finale. Frank left around season 5 because Larry Linville, the actor who played Frank, was beginning to despise the character, and for good reason, and left with no regrets. Gary Berghoff left because the show caused him family problems, and family comes first. And so here's what I know about MASH. There are characters who stem from the show, but we'll go over them another time. For now, I bid you all adieu. I've got 3 more videos to make.